Welcome, everyone. My name is Jose Livaguirre from Spotfire. I'm your Dr. Spotfire host. And today we have this special Dr. Spotfire session talking about the Spotfire Copilot. And with me, I have Ahmad, Andrew, and Marcelo that are going to talk the Spotfire architecture, some demos, some proof of concepts, and introduction, everything behind. Guys, do you want to say hi to the audience?
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
All right. Well, the Dr. Spotfire sessions usually are on the first Tuesday of every month. So next session is going to be on January 2nd. Today is a special session. But with that, I'll leave it to Ahmad, who is going to kick off the presentation.
All right. Thank you very much, Jose. And hello and welcome everybody to our special session of Dr. Spotfire on Spotfire Copilot. We're thrilled today to, for the first time officially and publicly, talk about Spotfire Copilot and show it to you and take you under the hood a little and answer a few questions if the time allows, and end on a very positive note. The usual confidentiality and disclaimer, the product messaging basically will come through the official product channels, for everything Spotfire. So please take this presentation as a presentation on Spotfire Copilot as a extension to Spotfire. This is the agenda for today. So we are going to first see why we chose to design and build Spotfire Copilot in the first place, what the opportunity is and was, and even more today, and specifically talk about the use cases that we have targeted. We'll then quickly turn into a demo by Andrew. This is going to be a live demo where you'll see exactly how these features come together and enrich Spotfire experience. Architecture under the hood will be covered by Marcelo, and then we'll wrap up and answer a few questions. And I encourage you, by the way, to ask all your questions in the chat or Q&A, and we'll get to them. So.
Sorry, Ahmad, just as a reminder, hey, we have Neil saying hi to us. He's very excited, and everyone who joined, welcome. So yes, feel free to ask questions. This session is going to be recorded. If you have any questions and you happen to see this recording after the fact, just keep the questions coming.
All right, good to have you, Neil. All right, so let's see. So the opportunities when it comes to different technologies, and if you look at the chart on the left, which was done very recently as a survey of a number of CEOs by Fortune and Deloitte, you see there are from left to right, there are much more mature technologies like cloud computing, all the way to the right, newer technologies, generative AI. So it's clearly dark green shows that many more CEOs compared to, let's say, cloud computing. Many more CEOs are in the evaluation and experimentation phase with generative AI, which is very understandable given the age of the technology. Nevertheless, the sheer volume of these CEOs interviewed who are already working with it, and actually light green shows CEOs who said we are already adopting it, we are already using it. It's already at 13%. And to the right, you see I draw your attention to the middle box, which says 79% of those CEOs interviewed believe that it will increase efficiency, and 52% believe that it will lead to growth opportunities. So that's at least in the opinion domain, which is quite strong. But also, there are real numbers, from the official revenue numbers of OpenAI, or real product infusions by Microsoft and so forth, on top of all of these, apps and real world value adds that you see in the world. Is there fluff in there? For sure, like any new technology. This is no exception in my opinion, but we're already seeing quite a bit of value. So in response to that, or to take advantage of this opportunity for the Spotfire community, we have designed, as you'll see today in more detail, Spotfire Copilot, which is a natural language extension to Spotfire. And today it is open for download and use by any Spotfire customer. This is another view to the field. This is a report that came a few weeks ago by Gartner. As you see, the title on the right-hand side is the AI Opportunity Radar. To anchor you, the x-axis shows from left the more traditional use cases of AI, to the right the more disruptive use cases, and the y-axis shows internal to external customer-facing use cases. Now, you may ask, why should we care? If I'm a customer, Spotfire customer, you can expect in your day-to-day activities, such as, yield optimization, or upstream, if you're an energy, oil and gas customer, upstream, your day-to-day activities, you can expect your analysts, your line of business experts to have a boost in efficiency. And also, if you are in the, let's say, drug discovery research phase, as we'll see, there are features in Spotfire Copilot that we have specifically designed to boost R&D and disruptive or developing disruptive technologies with Spotfire. And if you're a partner, if you build something to offer to your own customers with Spotfire, you can expect significant improvement in your staff's efficiency when they build technologies or new additions or write code inside Spotfire in your day-to-day operation. Also, if you're thinking about new offerings to your customers, value add, significant game-changing offers, that's also a very, very valid opportunity to consider. Actually, I highly encourage you to among other things, see this presentation today through that lens, and have a eagle eye for those opportunities where you can add to your portfolio of offerings to your customers through generative AI, and in particular Spotfire Copilot. And by the end of this presentation, we hope that you at least take these main three takeaways. First of all, Spotfire Copilot is now ready and available for download by everybody. And it is, again, a custom trained assistant or addition based on generative AI to Spotfire. And the custom trained is key because yes, there are a lot of general consumer grade products out there, like ChatGPT, like Google's Bard, and so forth. And there are many other models, open source and otherwise, in the market. We have spent a lot of time building other components to the system that customizes this tool based on LLMs for Spotfire. So it's highly non-trivial. And also very important to the second bullet here, it is for every customer, it will be their own private instance of Spotfire Copilot. Privacy and security of the data of all of these prompts, and in many cases, data or summaries of the data that are shared with the foundation model, the large language model. Security and privacy of those have been from day one of paramount interest and attention by us. And this is one of the intentional design decisions that we made to make the experience absolutely to the best of the privacy and security guidelines. The second point is that it is not just for one set of personas who use Spotfire or the other. It helps more beginner or novice Spotfire users by bridging a gap, shortening the learning curve, where these more beginner users can interact with the tool with Spotfire in their own natural language in English. And also for more advanced users, they can, yes, they may be able to do a lot of things the traditional way in Spotfire. They will still be able to do that, but on top of this, they can get a lot done faster. So it'll make those users more productive. And the third point is not only we have enabled all of these custom conversations and concepts based on Spotfire nomenclature or user documents and so forth out of the box, but also, as you'll see, every customer will be able to, in a private and secure manner, upload and parse their own documents. Imagine that a customer has many documents that explain definitions of chemical processes or HR regulations and so forth. And the Spotfire users or analysts, they may not have all those concepts or definitions in their head when they work on a Spotfire dashboard. Through this feature, they can have or enable those users to have conversations with the context of their proprietary documents at the disposal of Spotfire Copilot without leaving Spotfire. To enable all of these, this is the list of the features at a high level that we have designed, and this will be the segue for me to pass it over to Andrew to show a live demo. So from top to bottom, the general question answering, kind of similar to what you expect out of any popular consumer grade large language model product like ChatGPT. Those are still available. We do have some anti-hallucination measures in place as well. So. But again, if the user wants to ask about some statistical concept, they still can. The second one is the product help type of questions, where the user, in a traditional way, they would have to look it up in help or a PDF or search on the internet. Many of those, as long as they're uploaded to Spotfire Copilot, are now doable inside Spotfire Copilot. The third one is, like I mentioned, any customer can upload their own documents without risking any privacy beyond what they already have. It becomes part of your own IT infrastructure. The fourth one, interrogating data. These are the conversations about the data, about the table, let's say, or a few tables inside Spotfire. And the good thing about it is that it understands natural language, English, the names of the columns or features. They don't have to necessarily be exact to the last letter, or else all the benefits of the large language models come in play. And the user can have, especially in the exploratory phase, the more novice users, as well as more advanced users, but especially the more novice users can take a boost in efficiency. Other charts is, as the name suggests, enables users to create visualizations and refine it in natural language. We believe that it will be a significant boost to the efficiency again. And the last but not least is generating code. We know many of you, especially the builders and coders, you write data functions, and typically a good chunk of building a data function is some a good chunk of code that's necessary but not necessarily exciting or innovative, but it just has to be written. Especially for those cases, it can give you the coder or the builder of the data function a huge boost into building something much faster and get to the more challenging or more nuanced parts of writing the code. And with that, I pass it over to Andrew to show us a demo.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ahmad.
Andrew, before we jump into your screen, we have a couple of questions. Maybe there are a couple of questions for when it comes to architecture, but I don't want to leave them at the end. So one question is this for the cloud only? Is Spotfire Copilot for the cloud?
No. No. So right now, there's some echo on the audio here, unfortunately. Okay, so right now, we just enabled this for Spotfire Analyst, but we're looking to see whether we can make it deployable on the web for consumers or business authors to use. But right now, we don't enable this on the cloud. You'd have to have a cloud enterprise installation because it's a Spotfire extension.
Okay, and then there's another one here.
Mm-hmm.
For how to charge recommendations. Is Copilot just looking at column names and types? Can you add column descriptions or other metadata to make the recommendations smarter?
Yeah, so right now we're just using the metadata from the column names and the table names and things like that. We find that it does give surprisingly good results, but we're also looking in the future at using the results of the Spotfire recommender, and that'd be the AI recommender and also the traditional recommender, to see if those give additional benefits. But right now, it does at least give you a great starting point for chart generation, and you'll see that when I do the demo.
Okay, great, Andrew. Thank you. And I'm going to share your screen so you can go straight to the demo, Andrew.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jose. And thank you, Ahmad, for the introduction and showing all the different use cases. So this is Spotfire Copilot. It's available as a custom panel within Spotfire Analyst. So I can just open it with this button here. And you'll notice that you're not left alone. You don't have to try and imagine what sorts of questions you can ask of Spotfire Copilot. So there are some sample questions that we've already built into the system. So I'm going to start off with a sample how-to. Now, when I click this button, what's happening is that that question is being sent to the large language model. We're also retrieving some Spotfire documentation based on what the user is asking, and then the LLM is using that to help answer the question. So you can see now it's given us some nice responses about how to create this bar chart in Spotfire, and it also gives you at the end of it some citations, so you can see the documentation that it's building that from. And so that gives a lot of trustability in the response that you get over just the plain LLM, which may be hallucinating and giving you weird results. So that's the first use case. Obviously, you can ask all sorts of questions. Like I've asked some pretty complex questions like how to do streaming data in Spotfire, and it gives quite good responses to that. Okay, so then the second type of question I'm going to show today is asking a sample data question. So this is a very general purpose question. What should I be looking at in my data? And this is taking all the metadata that's in the current analysis and sending it to the LLM with some general instructions on the kinds of things to look out for. And it will come up with a nice list. Oh, yeah, sometimes it does that. So like we've already said, this is still quite new, and the LLM sometimes hallucinates. So if it does that, we've built in a function here. You can press this thumbs down button. And what that does is reset the system to make sure that it's in a known state. So let me just ask that again, and hopefully we'll get the answer this time. We've spent a lot of time. Let me just close and reopen the thing. So we've spent a lot of time writing system prompts to avoid hallucinations, but with ChatGPT, as I'm sure you all know, the LLM sometimes gets a bit confused and does weird things and answers the question in ways that you don't expect. But hey, no problem. The best way to recover from that is just to ask the question again, or rephrase it slightly, and then hopefully the LLM will give the answer that you want. And it's also worth remembering, as I think Ahmad already said, this is just your Copilot. So it's still up to you to do your due diligence and make sure that what the LLM is telling you makes absolute sense. So anyway, this time it worked. We got a response back from the LLM identifying that there are two tables available for analysis: Superstore sales with time span. Apologies for the long title of the data table here, and also movies. So it can tell you, oh, look, it's already identified some key columns that you might want to analyze. Now, this gives an advantage over prior visualization recommenders. I mean, you still want to use the Spotfire recommender because it's very powerful, but for the first time ever, we have the ability to understand the context or the meaning of columns and data. So it's already identified that perhaps the interesting columns to look at are sales or US gross if we're looking at movies.
Yeah,
So
Andrew, one quick reminder again, and especially when things go well, right here, which is the majority of the time, but still, we can't repeat it enough. The human being needs to have the hands on the wheel at all times. This is no different than any other large language model based product, especially after a number of good replies. Sometimes, we tend to just, feel too comfortable. But eventually, there's a reason we called it Copilot and not Pilot.
Yeah.
So please keep that in mind at all times.
Yes. And also we are rapidly iterating this product. So it's not a product, sorry, this extension to Spotfire. So, if you see strange things that you don't expect or something goes wrong, then just let us know. We'll incorporate your feedback into the next version. So in this case, I'm going to ask, I just asked show sales over time based on the previous response. So, and perhaps I should say one of the most difficult things that we've had to do when developing this is determining the user's intent and also making sure that the flow happens correctly, because after each question it builds up a history, and we're swapping system prompts under the hood. So whenever you ask a different type of question, we swap the system prompt, and with the best will in the world, it can be quite difficult to anticipate the almost infinite variety of questions and the user flow. So sometimes it gives the wrong results, or it doesn't exactly do what you expect. So just close it out, try again, and hopefully you'll get some decent results. So in this case, I've said show sales over time. There's a couple of things to note with this. In that I haven't had to be too prescriptive over the column names that I've chosen. So I just said show sales over time. So it's not only has it realized it should be probably a line chart because it's looking at time-based data, it's also picked the most appropriate columns from my data and chosen the most appropriate aggregation methods, and also the correct binning method for the date column on the bottom. So it's quite clever in that it can do those kind of things.
And Andrew, would this chart, line chart we're looking at, would it have been different if I had created it manually, the traditional way?
No, it's exactly the same. I mean, it does understand how you might want to color by different measures, but I think it's a very quick way of getting to a visualization that you might want.
So become any native Spotfire visualization.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can modify that visualization. And I'm not going to show it today because it can get pretty complex, but you can then refine that visualization. So you can say things like change it to a bar chart, or if it's a bar chart, you can make it horizontal, or you can change the color by axis or the line by axis. So I could say, okay, now color by region or something like that, and it would just do that for me here. But I want to get onto some of the other use cases to make sure I cover them all fully. So we also have the ability to analyze visualizations and explain them. So in this case, there's a couple of things I'd like to point out here. So I've got on this page an existing scatter plot. It's perhaps not the most useful, but I'm just going to demonstrate the concepts. So if I select this visualization for analysis, Copilot will collect the data that's behind this visualization. Actually, it collects the aggregated data for any visualization and sends it to Copilot, along with the configuration of that visualization. So then the LLM is able to analyze, and we're getting some typing noises there from somebody. Perhaps that person could mute. Cool. Thank you. So in this case, it's able to analyze line charts, bar charts, and scatter plots, at least in this initial version. So it's identified that this is a scatter plot. It's given some details about the way that the scatter plot is configured and what's on each of the axes. And then it's able to tell us whether there's something that we should be looking at in the data. And it's even identified that, for example, Arizona has this, and there are some outliers in the data. There's no clear trend or correlation, which is correct. There may be some clusters, but it's all quite highly spread, so it does give us that. What's also interesting is that we're sampling the data, obviously it being practical to send thousands and thousands of rows of data to LLM. So it's able to sample the data to a reasonable sample size and send that to the LLM for analysis. All right. So now I'd like to just jump back to a couple other use cases.
So Andrew, that last use case that you just showed is perfect for quickly generating reports, or the seed at least. It takes you 80% there, and then the human user can quickly just review and make any refinements and go from there much faster.
Yes, and we've often talked about natural language generation in Spotfire, which is often useful for explaining visualizations. And if you're not used to interpreting visualizations, it can give you a useful hook in to try and understand what's going on in your data. I mean, you visualized it, but how useful is that visualization? Does it tell you anything specific? I mean, I could also run it against this one, but it very clearly, if I did, it clearly identifies the peaks in the data and the trends over time. But I may do that later, but I do want to try and cover all the other use cases. So if you remember from the start of this demo, there's a data set that I've loaded around movies. So if I ask the question, what are the top 10 grossing movies? What's happening now is that Copilot understands that it needs some additional data in order to be able to answer that question. So it should come up with a configuration for a data view. So this is like asking Spotfire select from movies where the gross earnings are from the top 10 gross earnings. So now what we've done is we click the button which will generate that data and resubmit it back to the LLM for analysis. And we do that in a two-step process so that you can confirm that it's going to ask Spotfire the right type of question. If not, then you can refine your question or query. And as you see, it's come up with a list of the top 10 grossing movies in order. And also, it's given you a visualization that you can click to show the top 10. Well, actually, it shows them all, but then, of course, you can apply a top 10 filter to that if you want. It doesn't apply that automatically for you right now. All right.
Okay. What are you going to talk about next, Andrew? Because I have a question myself. So
absolutely.
This is an extension of a Spotfire. It's not like it's embedded in the release of the Spotfire. If you happen to get the latest release, it's not going to be there. You have to install the extension, and for those programmers like me, you can also create, or you did that extension using the Spotfire API. Can you talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for reminding me, Jose. So, but I will say I've got a couple of other use cases to demonstrate as well. So I mustn't forget. It's just a reminder of myself. So this is developed as an extension to Spotfire using the Spotfire SDK. And you can download it. We'll show you the I think I might put some screenshots on, but we can talk about that later. You can download it from the exchange, and you need to deploy a couple of containers, and we'll show you that in the architecture a bit later on. But then you can also deploy a Spotfire service pack or Spotfire package to the Spotfire server. And then when you deploy that, then it gets automatically installed into any Spotfire analyst clients you've got.
Right, and it's let me emphasize that yes, it's true that this is not, at least as of now, an official product Spotfire. It's an addition. It's a extension to Spotfire.
Exactly. And that also gives us the ability as
I have another question, if I may.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
sorry, Andrew. Yes,
sorry. Yeah. So let's. I think you were delayed a little, Jose. Andrew, you were finish your thoughts, and we'll go to the next question.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I finished my thoughts. We can. I do want to give some more use cases, but we've got plenty of time, haven't we?
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Go ahead, Jose.
Oh, okay. So one of the other questions is is the data that I share through Copilot remains private and secure?
Yeah. So let me take a stab at it, and then we'll see actually quite a bit more about the architecture when Marcelo shows the architecture. I cannot emphasize this enough that privacy and security was one of the very first set of principles that we took into account when we designed the architecture, the whole system. It was a given from day one that if we are designing features where actual data gets moved around, even text questions, sometimes it reveals information, very sensitive information. So the way we design this is everything we are showing today, it will become for any adopting customer their own instance of Spotfire Copilot. Let's say they choose, even though we are agnostic, this Spotfire Copilot is not doesn't necessitate to deploy it in Azure or AWS or elsewhere. Let's say, for the sake of example, that you choose to go with OpenAI model, or Azure OpenAI models offered by Azure. It becomes your own instance against your own instance of Azure OpenAI models. Your data only travels from your Spotfire server, front end client to the server to your own instance of Azure in this case. Spotfire or any other entity does not see your data unless basically similar to any other trust that you put in this case, in this example, Azure. If you trust them to save your other tables in Azure SQL or use other services in Azure, there's no difference there. It becomes your own instance against Azure in this case.
Yeah, and also it's important to point out, Ahmed, I'm not sure if you did, but your data and your questions and the responses are not used to train or refine the LLM.
Yeah, that's a great addition. One of the other reasons that, as you'll see in a little bit, we went with in our development efforts, we chose to go with Microsoft, among other reasons, instead of OpenAI, was all of these enterprise grade guarantees and boundaries. Because one of their guarantees, and by the way, we encourage you to check that directly against the terms that you get from Azure. So it's between you and Microsoft eventually, but they're known for, they have a lot of many decades of experience working these enterprise, very highly sensitive environments. Instead of OpenAI directly, which is more of a research environment, obviously the models are great and generated by OpenAI, but we chose to go with Microsoft for our development purposes in a large part because of this question.
Yeah, exactly. So the LLM is not recording your data, questions, or anything else.
Exactly.
Okay,
Right.
we have a couple more questions, but when Marcelo talks about the architecture, let you continue, Andrew, with the rest of the demo.
Thank you very much. Cool. So we talked, Ahmad talked earlier about the possibility to author data functions. So I've got this question. Create a data function to do one hot encoding of categorical variables in movies, but only if they have less than 10 distinct values. So I'm just going to run that. Now, this is going to, it's sending a system prompt to the LLM to define a Spotfire data function object. And as we know that the LLMs are quite good at authoring text, code, And right now we have the ability to create Python data functions only. So if I click this button and then go to data function properties, it didn't work. So sometimes that goes wrong. Like I said, I'll just do it again. Hey, this is a version 1.0. But even if it goes wrong, you're gonna save a lot of time for this, because even if you're fairly proficient in Python, you may have to think which code you have to write and what things you need to trap and all those kind of things. So if you can just explain what you want and have the LLM do it for you, then it's much better. But hopefully it's going to work this time. Data function properties. Yeah, here we go. So here's the one hot encoding. The one hot encoding Python script. So I can edit that script. It's always important to review any script that you haven't authored yourself to make sure it's not doing anything it shouldn't. So now it's up to you to connect that up to your data table, pass in the correct columns just in the normal way that you would. I'm not going to go through this right now because it just wastes time, but if I add all the correct columns to the input to the data function, set up the output, and then I have to go and trust it. And once it's trusted, you can then go and run it, and obviously you can refine it. Now we're working on this process and hope to make it a little more streamlined in future versions. But for now, it gives you a good head start into authoring data functions. So quite apart from the default and standard stuff that we've got in Spotfire, we can also the other interesting thing, I suppose, what we found with working with the LLM is it's very easy to anthropomorphize it. And I'll tell you a little story. It's and I apologize, I've kind of gone off script here, but we do find that on some days it responds more like we expect, and on other days it expects less. It responds less like we expect. So we've put an awful lot of effort into our prompt engineering in this to make it as robust as possible, but there are still edge cases where it doesn't quite do as we expect. So in this case, I'm going to ask a question. Now, you may already know that Spotfire doesn't support spider charts natively, but in our case, we've preloaded our retrieval generation. Which was the one I wanted to do. That one hasn't given me a decent result. How do I create a radar chart in Spotfire? What's another good one to do? I mean, so we've preloaded some information on creating these mods, and I'm going to have to look at this because it's not giving me the answers I want. So you'll see, you can see in future, what I was kind of trying to show you here was that if you ask how to create a mod in a particular visualization that's not default in Spotfire, then it suggests a mod that you can do. But for some reason, it's not showing it. So that's okay, no worries. Also, probably the final use case I'd like to demonstrate is, I'm going to say, no, that's not what I want. But just imagine that it does give you the list of mods and how to download the mod off the exchange, which is how we designed it, and it normally works. So the final use case we'd like to talk about is custom documentation. So it's possible to load custom documentation into Spotfire for your particular business, company, or use cases. So in this case, we've loaded a document on oil and gas and wells and reservoirs and things like that into the architecture, which you'll see later. And Copilot is able to mine that from that documentation and give you contextual and useful results for how to from that documentation. And that can be absolutely anything. And as you see, it also pulls out the relevant citations that you can then go and reference if you want to find out where it got the information from. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. And again, to reiterate the fine point, in this case, this document will not be shared by Spotfire or
correct.
Will not be seen used by Microsoft to retrain or improve the model. It will become as secure as any other data set or asset you have in wherever you save your data.
Yeah. And the way it's done that in this case is it's realized it doesn't match any of the other different use cases that we've got. So it's gone to your data, and then you can continue to ask questions. Now, I'm not going to show it in a demo, but just in case you think, you absolutely have to close. You've seen me closing the Copilot panel a couple of times to restart it all. It is actually capable of doing multi-turn questions. So if you ask it to generate a visualization, the LLM will prompt you to say, okay, what kind of data are you looking at? And then you can choose the columns. You can reply back with columns. But it's too complex to go into in terms of a demo. But I'm continuously surprised and amazed at the kind of knowledge and the intelligence that the LLM actually has. Okay, that concludes my demo for now, guys. I think it's over to you, Marcelo, to talk about the architecture. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, Andrew, for a great demonstration. I think it's actually very nice to have this first release of the Spotfire Copilot. So, Marcelo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jose. Hello, everybody again. Today, I am thrilled to present an overview of platform-agnostic architecture that harnesses the power of retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. This architecture seamlessly integrates a front-end component with a modular backend, highlighting the versatility of RAG. So RAG is a groundbreaking approach that combines the strengths of retrieval and generation models, allowing us to retrieve relevant information from a vast data set and generate contextually appropriate responses. Now let's dive into the architecture. At the forefront of the architecture is the front-end component. As Andrew mentioned, is implemented as an Spotfire extension. It serves as the user interface, offering a seamless experience for interaction, as you saw from the demo. Users can effortlessly submit the queries or prompts, and the magic just happens behind the scenes. Okay, transitioning to the backend, the architecture comprises of several key components working harmoniously to deliver exceptional results. Let's delve into each one in detail. So let's start with the orchestrator. The orchestrator serves as the backbone, receiving a request from the front end and orchestrating the interaction between the several modules in the orchestrator. It also facilitates the communication between the OpenAI models and the contextual indexers, ensuring a cohesive and efficient workflow. At the heart of the architecture is actually lying the OpenAI models. These models are designed both for retrieval and generation tasks. These models bring advanced natural language processing capabilities, enhancing the intelligence and adaptability of the system. Next, to enrich the context of the retrieved information, the architecture utilizes contextual indexers. These indexers implemented using vector databases efficiently store and retrieve information, providing context-aware results. Finally, keeping the indexers up to date is really essential. So the data loaders play a crucial role in this process, seamlessly integrating new data from various sources into the system. The sources include AWS S3, Azure blobs, PDFs, text files, and many more sources and formats. So this ensures the RAG architecture is always equipped with the latest information. So in summary, the architecture offers a range of benefits, including flexibility, scalability, and ease of integration. It is designed to empower users across different domains, enabling them to harness the power of RAG for their unique requirements. Also, as mentioned at the beginning of the architecture, the architecture is a platform agnostic and can be deployed on premise or on the cloud platform of your choice. Next slide, please.
Okay, before we continue with the next slide, we have a question, and this is probably related with what you're talking, Marcelo. Can we configure Copilot to point to our local models and infrastructure?
It If they are supported by the LangChain libraries, yes. If the models are supported by the LangChain library, yes.
Okay, perfect. And then our next question is, can you show how it generates NLG using Copilot? This is part of the architecture.
Yeah, I think we saw that in the very last demo that that Andrew showed. Based on the visualization, it generated basically a report or a description of the visualization. That was a very good example of NLG.
Okay, perfect.
Next slide. We don't have any more questions. So here we can see that the backend components are delivered as Docker images, which can be configured and deployed to meet your specific needs. And the Copilot extension, as Andrew mentioned, is delivered as an Spotfire SPK. Next slide. This slide just shows an example of a deployment on the Azure Cloud. Here we can see the Copilot components, the orchestrator, and the data loaders. They are deployed using as Azure container applications, and the Vector DB can be deployed using the Azure Kubernetes as a Azure Kubernetes cluster. Also, if the user decides to use the Azure Cognitive Search, that's a service provided by Azure as a service. And also in this case, we can see the instance of OpenAI is hosted in the Azure Cloud. The communication between the Spotfire client with the Copilot extension with the system is through a secure REST interface. The next slide shows a similar example, but this deployment is on AWS Cloud. Again, the orchestrator and the data loaders are deployed as on AWS Elastic Container Service. And also the Vector DB, again, we are using AWS Elastic Kubernetes Service. In this case, the OpenAI instance can be running either the Azure Cloud or it can be running on the OpenAI Cloud. And again, in this case, also the Spotfire with the Spotfire client with the Copilot extension just communicates with the system through the secure REST interface. That concludes the overview of the architecture, and I will be happy to answer any other question.
Okay, perfect, Marcelo. So I guess the Spotfire Copilot is cloud agnostic. You can deploy in different environments.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say the only dependency that that would be challenging to get away of or from is the GPT models, the foundation model. All the prompt engineering that Andrew mentioned are done against the GPT family of foundation models that today, as of today, this presentation are offered either through Azure OpenAI or OpenAI directly. It can change tomorrow, or we in the future might consider doing prompt engineering or tweaking it to work against, let's say, the Llama family of models. Or Google's models with the recent developments, or who knows what, or AWS. But that's the only thing. Everything else, basically, these are functional logical boxes that can run anywhere and everywhere.
That's
okay.
correct.
So that leads to another question on how to keep up with other LLMs other than OpenAI models.
Right. So actually, I wanted to make a comment about in the context of, we saw a number of use cases that Andrew showed, and a couple of them had glitches, right? We made a conscious and intentional choice to, a while ago we passed a point where we felt like there is quite a bit of value already in what we have. We had a choice to make. We had to either wait to reach a point of quote unquote perfection, and work against multiple LLMs, work against multiple use cases 99.9% of the time, or we could have offered what's quite valuable already to the community and work with the community and a few customers while we quickly iterate over these non-stop continuous flow of models and technologies. LLMs is only one of them. Like LangChain is continuously evolving. it's a super highly dynamic field. So we made this intentional decision to make a quick iterative agile model of releases to Spotfire Copilot. Adjusting to other LLMs is only one of such examples, where in our future iterations and releases, and possibly with the help of some of the partners who may be in the audience today or some of the customers, that we will consider to include and add. But it doesn't even stop there. There are a bunch of other architectural ideas, like using agents, for example, or using Fusion to improve the quality of the prompts. Are basically two of the each of which is significant, but only two of the other types of improvements that we are already considering. So it's a non-stop iterative process.
Great.
All right, so that was great. So we covered quite a bit of ground, and to wrap up and close us out, I have to give a shout out to our great partners, Microsoft. Especially in the beginning of the process, they gave us a lot of technical enablement. This is several months ago, which feels like ages ago. A lot has happened since in getting off the ground, and they continue to give us support and assistance, and we really appreciate them. But again, to like for the third or fourth time, reiterate, except for the GPT model, everything else is agnostic in our architecture. Even though we have reasons to have picked Microsoft, especially for not only they were the first ones, that was very good, good for them, but the quality of the models and also the enterprise grade boundaries and guards that they offered from the get-go, and with their track record, that was very important to us. So with a few months of the cost we pay is just a few months of delay when the new models come out of OpenAI directly. It's a very healthy price to pay, to just wait a few months before the models show up in Azure OpenAI. And to wrap us out, quickly reiterate your takeaways. We saw what's out today in Spotfire Copilot and available to download to stand up your own instance of Spotfire Copilot. It helps both your beginner and expert users of Spotfire in different ways to shorten the learning curve, or help your seasoned users be more efficient and faster. And also, it very importantly, in addition to Spotfire features and Spotfire help type questions, it enables every organization to securely and privately upload and parse their own text documents and resources to enable their Spotfire users to converse in natural language right within Spotfire, next to all of the other charts, conversations about their own proprietary concepts. And this is our call to action. I hope that actually addresses and covers a lot of questions that we got. So the top resource is going to be a review of, or it is actually, this is the right-hand side, is a screenshot of that community page that captures at a high level a lot of what we covered today, with some architectural guidelines. I encourage you to check that out. The second link is where you can get Spotfire Copilot from our exchange. And the bottom three are other links in general if you are curious about LLMs in particular, or natural language processing in a broader sense. You can study any or all of these. And that's actually a good reminder that Spotfire has been offering natural language features for quite some time. This is not our first foray into natural language. LLMs is a huge wave, but we have had several. We still offer many other more traditional natural language features in Spotfire, and these three bottom links point you in that direction. And once this presentation is released, you'll have access to these links. And with that, I'd like to thank you all a lot for attending this session. If we have any other questions, we can address. We have a few minutes left. And also, if you prefer, for whatever reason, to contact us directly, this is our email address that you can reach out to the builders of Spotfire Copilot. And if you forget to write it down or you can't, at the bottom of this article, top article, you can either directly leave your comments, question, or this email is also listed at the bottom of that very document in the community. So let's see if you have any other questions that we can address.
We don't have any other questions, but we have one that is related, and you already answered that. It's not a Copilot specific email address for feedback, but you can reach us out at datascience. And again, all the links from the resources and the email is going to be embedded in the comments of this video if you happen to see this recording.
Yeah, I've got one more thing just quickly. So one of the things I struggled to show was mods earlier. So can you just quickly... Thanks. So I asked this question: what mods can I use in Spotfire? So you see, it's given me some text around what mods are, what you could do with them, some example mods, a link to an example mod, and then I asked, how do I create a rows chart? So it said Spotfire does not natively support rows charts, but you can use a mod. And here's the steps to use that rows chart. So you can download it from here, and then it's given citations again so you can see that it's not wildly hallucinating. Anyway, I just wanted to show that for my own personal satisfaction, Jose. So thank you very much for letting me do that.
Excellent. So there's one more question. It's about, can you show how a user uploads documents? I guess that's to enhance the LLM models.
Yeah, it depends on your deployment. If you deploy the components on the cloud, then the easiest way is to either use the S3 or the Azure blobs. You can drop all the documents there, and then you configure your data loader to interact with that specific source. And as soon as you drop documents, the data loader will notice and it will load into the system.
Okay, perfect.
So
it's
designed for scale, right? We can handle.
And if you have this deployed locally, it's very easy. You just configure. When you configure your container, you specify the directory where you want the data loader to look for files, and then you just start dropping files there, and the data loader will start loading to the system.
Perfect. So if you want to try out Copilot, there's an article where you can follow the instructions, and if you have any questions, just reach out to us. That's all I have for now. Time's up, and I want to thank all of you for this great presentation, and our audience, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.